really shouldn't have eaten all those wings. Now when I gotta do this. Here it goes.
Office memorandum. Steve Z to host SuperCaZt. Chilkill, Georgia, June 21. Dear Foch, suppose you'll call this a confession when you hear it. But I don't like the word confession. Just want to set you right about one thing. The one thing you couldn't see because it was smack up against your nose. Let's have a look at that double indemnity. You're pretty good in there. You discussed the Noir. Check. You discussed the directing. Check. Double check. Thought you had the whole thing tied up, tissue, ready to ship that podcast out. But you missed something. One tiny but big thing. And now with the little time I have left, let's get to the bottom of it.
And welcome back to the SuperCaZt, everybody. I'm your host, the man who put the super in SuperCaZt, the SuperCaZt, joined as always by my buddy Steve Z, the man who put the Z in the SuperCaZt.
And we're going to thank you for joining us here on this podcast. We do this every week. Lately, we've been doing it twice a week. We'll see if we keep that up. Be sure to check out our social medias so you stay up to date, but also join the conversation. We love the comments on YouTube. We love everything, so
definitely
check it out. You see our information on the screen right now. And now, on with the main event, on with the show. Let's go.
Fly tomorrow evening around 8:30. He'll be in then.
Who?
My husband. You were anxious to talk to him, weren't you?
Yeah, I was, but I'm sort of getting over the idea, if you know what I mean.
There's a speed limit in this state, Mr. Neff. 45 miles an hour.
How fast was I going, officer?
I'd say around 90.
Suppose you get down off your motorcycle and give me a ticket.
Suppose I let you off with a warning this time.
Suppose it doesn't take.
Suppose I have to whack you over the knuckles.
Suppose I bust out crying and put my head in your shoulder.
Suppose you try putting it on my husband's shoulder.
That tears it.
And today we are bringing you guys one of my favorite films of all time, one of my favorite noirs of all time, Double Indemnity. If you guys were with us on a past episode when we talked about Chinatown, I talked about watching that in a college class that was called Film Noir. And this movie, Double Indemnity, was the second film that we watched. So we watched Chinatown to begin the class, and then we went right into Double Indemnity, a film I was not familiar with beforehand, but it was just one of those films, when I watched it, I instantly fell in love with it. Like it had me from the beginning. And I love how this movie is structured because it's sort of a narration, but it serves dual purposes. You know, this is sort of a confession. What are your feelings on how this kind of is set up?
I mean, it's classic. Billy Wilder, he does the same thing in Sunset Boulevard, but this one, I think it's definitely, like you said, it's the classic noir trope. It's how did we get here? And I like it because, yeah, kind of know where it's gonna get. You know where it's gonna get there, but it's a very much a surprise. How does he get here? How does he get to this point where he's just barely hanging on? And slowly but surely, we are revealed more aspects of this, and I think it's a really cool way to do it. And I just love the beginning of this film. It starts off very, very well, and it's one of those things that when you do it on repeat viewings, the beginning kind of makes more sense, and it kind of hits you a little bit differently. Because for me, this is one that it's taken me a few viewings to really appreciate it. Because I appreciate it as a classic film. I appreciate it as a well-made film. But for me, I had to watch it a few times to really, for it to click with me and for me to like it. And to me, this intro it's great when you watch it at repeat viewings, especially Neff's coming in. He's barely hanging on, and we're asking as an audience, okay, so who is this guy? And why is he showing up at the work 3 or 4 in the morning? And also, he nearly killed 10 people on the way driving there. So that's something else that stands out to me. So I love repeat viewing this film, and I can't wait to talk about this film because, like I said, it's one that's kind of grow on me a little bit. But I kind of want to hear what you have to say to see why this is in your top whatever count that you have.
Yeah, there it is, Walter. It's beginning to come apart at the seams already. Murder's never perfect. Always comes apart sooner or later. And when 2 people are involved, it's usually sooner. Now, we know the Dietrichson dame is in it and somebody else. Pretty soon we'll know who that somebody else is. He'll show who's got to show. Sometime, somewhere, they've got to meet. Their emotions are all kicked up. Whether it's love or hate doesn't matter. They can't keep away from each other. They may think it's twice as safe because there are 2 of them. But it isn't twice as safe. It's 10 times twice as dangerous.
I think the character of Neff is interesting. But me and my wife had watched this with me on one of the viewings, getting ready for this episode, and she brought up the point of, are they both bad? Is the female the bad guy and the male's just a victim? And I said, I think there's some interpretation you can do. I think you can, again, this is my 80 years old, so I mean, and my money, I think Neff was a good person. I love that. I think that's one of the best parts of this film.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to slow you down a little bit. As they say in the film, there's a speed limit in this
about this film, man. I'm sorry.
And you're getting too far because
hey, I get excited talking about this film, man. I'm sorry.
Me, I liked where you were going originally with this. The context. I think the context is something you have to think about.
Yeah.
I'll get into my whole thoughts about Neff and Dietrichson later, because obviously we're not on the same page when it comes to that. But save that for later.
I guess so.
But
that's cool. Hey, that's cool.
You have to think about it. And this is one thing I'm starting to appreciate more as I watch more movies. This is a film from World War II. This is a film that we're seeing the terrible things that are happening in Europe and in Asia. And I think that's definitely a backdrop to this. I mean, you think that people would want to go see uplifting, silly films during this time, but we have this film that I guess they wanted to get into and live vicariously because Hitchcock's huge at this time too. And that's actually, when I watch this film, I think of Billy Wilder just trying to one-up Hitchcock, because I think that's what he's trying to do. But the context of this film is definitely something you have to think about as you watch it nowadays, because, like you said, the Hays Code is very much there, and it's kind of like they slipped this thing in, and it's definitely a film that's controversial, even if it came out now. It's a film that contains 2 protagonists that I don't think are very good people. And why are we watching this? Why are we interested? That's kind of the thing that I leave this film asking. But I guess, are we ready to get into it, or do you want to just go context a little bit more?
Hey man, I'm following you, sir.
Okay, I guess we'll go back to your Neff thing. So, so we were introduced to this guy, and probably we are judging him a little bit because he seemed like he's not doing so well, and he's telling us, he's basically confessing to us, and he says, I did it for a woman, I did it for money, and I didn't get the money, I didn't get the woman, here I am, here we go. So I think there is a little part of him that might be good, but at the same time, I don't think he's always been good. He's not your upstanding citizen. I mean, the guy has been plotting how to do this for a bit. That's something I noticed yeah, he's a little reluctant at first. Yeah, he's initially like, oh, I see what's going on here, Miss Dietrichson. I'm that kind of salesman. I'm not do that. So he does that originally, but he's obsessed with her. He's still thinking about her. He's still thinking about that, and he's kind of played this out for years, and he acts like that's a normal thing to do. Just like, how would I?
So
get
you
away
think
with
the good
murder?
guy thing was just an act?
I'm not saying it's an act. I think he's like everybody. They all are playing a part, if you will. And as a salesman, he's pretty good at playing a bunch of different parts. He acts a different way with keys that he would with somebody else. I mean, to me, that shows you this guy's not upstanding right from the get-go. His adultery is on his mind the moment he meets this woman. He is... I mean, yeah, she had a part to play with that. We're going to get to her in a second. We're going to get to her. She's not totally innocent. But I don't think a guy that goes in and tries to flirt with another man's wife right from the get-go is an upstanding man of the city. And probably not surprised that he does break the law and does a lot of stuff that's very questionable.
I thought of somebody... character nowadays people will be familiar with that kind of compares, for me at least, and that is Bryan Cranston's Walter White in Breaking Bad. He starts out as this just, teacher that everybody kind of steps on and stuff, and then he gets into this drug stuff and he becomes a whole different person. And while it's not exactly the same thing, I feel like there's some similarity there. I think that Neff went to the house not to cheat on, this man's wife or whatever, but to do his job. But then as soon as he saw that woman in her towel, and she is just in a towel when he first sees her, I think there's some light bulbs that go off in his head, and, that's pretty much it. Does he fight it a little bit at first? Maybe, yeah. I think he even tries to talk her out of it in the grocery store scene, which we'll get into that in a minute. But I do feel like still, though, even then, even after that initial thing, and there's definitely sparks flying, I still feel like Neff did not completely, to borrow the term, break bad until later on. So I still feel like there's some good left in him. Even afterwards, even sitting there bleeding out, I feel like there's still a little bit of good left in him. But I guess to each his own.
I'll see if you can make the case during this episode, because I'm very skeptical, and I've actually grown more into your camp, because originally, I was totally against it, and this past viewing I did notice her role in it a lot more, and how when they first meet up, she's already plotting. She is thinking about it. And I guess we'll go ahead and get into Mrs. Dietrichson.
It's a good start.
And we're terrible hosts. We have not mentioned the actors that are playing these people.
Gotta give credit where credit's due.
Fred McMurray is Walter Neff, and I think he does a great performance. I mean, we don't have to get into it too much. I think, like I said, this film grows on me every time I watch it. And I think his little line delivery, his coolness, but also just how he gets more crazed as the film goes on, I think that's a big part of his performance.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that. I think that Mrs. Dietrichson is already where Neff gets to. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like Miss Dietrichson, because, and I base it on this, is a big part of this film that I think goes overlooked even sometimes is the stepdaughter. And she talks about how Dietrichson is just really rude to her and doesn't act like she cares about her, and is not very motherly, which, and I get it. You could chalk that up to, well, she's just making that up. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like, she was telling the truth. So there's clue number one for me. And I think she knew that she could convince Neff, because she saw that look in Neff's eyes initially. she knew she had him right there in that first moment. So she already had everything plotted, and I think she is your classic femme fatale. I think that I mean, the thing that gets me is that look she gives the camera in the car when after they kill the husband, and she's just staring. I mean, it's like it's so good it's scary. Yeah. That is like one of the scariest shots I've ever seen. I mean, she's not snarling, she's not doing anything but just almost like a death stare. I thought that was something that I remembered seeing before, but it just had an effect on me the other day when I watched that. I was like, boom, there's the evil one right there. I don't think Neff got to that level. I really, really don't. I think he got close, and I think he, was definitely under her spell, as they say. But yeah, I think she's the real villain in this story, if you want my opinion on it.
Well, I'm not going to say she's the real one. I would say she's she's definitely a willing participant. They're both of it. I mean, because they're both human beings. They have agency. But I am in more of your leaning now because, like I said, the first meeting, the first time we see her, she's asking, so you're an insurance man. Bet you're pretty good at your job, aren't you? And that's just like initially the wheels are turning. And then the second time it's like, oh yeah, come by. He'll be here. Oh wait, no, he's not going to be here. But he just last minute couldn't make it. But meanwhile, let's flirt a little bit more. And then that's when she kind of asks about the accident insurance. And yeah, slowly but surely she does get him on her side. And it's really, to me, it's that scene where he's been thinking about it. She opens the door. He's like, I already knew she was going to be there. That's when he goes crazy for her at that point. And like you said, that shot of when the actual murder happens, and I'm glad you mentioned it because in my notes, I circled it. Because that shot, it stood out to me too. It's because initially she's kind of startled. She doesn't expect Neff to kind of do it in the way he does it, I guess, or he's rougher or something. But then it's kind of a smile. It's kind of a settled, we've done this. And she's never as rattled as him. That's the big thing. She is actually much more. He's. You think she'd be the one that's rattled just because she's the one that has to go through more questioning and everything. Right. But Neff, as soon as the night it happens, he's like already starting to kind of feel that regret. He's starting to feel that, just I could feel my footsteps were the dead man. That fate is coming for him. So I'm gonna take her a little bit and say that maybe she is more the instigator, but at the same time, this guy is not. He's not innocent. I don't believe anybody. And I do think that as the film goes on, we do learn more about her. And we do see definitely at the end when she's just kind of throwing him off for this Zachetti guy. And it's kind of like, okay, so I see how it is now. Maybe she might be the worst of the worst. Who knows?
There's another factor I think that you have to consider with Neff, and that is the relationship he has with his boss, with Keys. I mean, he's sitting there bleeding out, about to die, and he's admitting everything because of the respect he has for his boss. Mrs. Dietrichson has nobody like that. She is, she's driven people away. And she, her marriage is fallen. She doesn't get along with her stepdaughter. I mean, she has nobody else to cling to but herself. And so I think that's why it's easier for her to do these murders and these things, because emotions are not part of her psyche. I mean, you've heard of people where they're psychopaths, and this is a textbook definition, if you want my opinion on it, that she can just throw people away like they're a paper cup, and it's no big deal. I feel like sitting there bleeding out in that office, Neff is showing at least a little bit that he feels bad for everything that he's let happen. He's not innocent, he's not a victim, but he does have a little bit more of a conscience, and there's a respect between Keyes and Neff that I love how they show to get to the end, because that makes this ending, and we'll get to the ending in a little bit, so powerful. I think this is one of the best endings of a film too, but when it comes to noir anyway. But so I think that's the biggest thing, is that Neff has this relationship, and he has a little bit more of a moral compass going in the right direction than Dietrichson, and that's just how I interpret the film.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a way to interpret it. I definitely say that they have a good working relationship, and he does mention a few times, like, yeah, I loved you, I love you,
yeah,
stuff like that. But I don't know. I still think Neff, he showed that he's, even when he does a good thing, like let's say he's taking Lola out because he feels bad for killing her dad. Yeah, he killed her dad and he's taking her out. So that shows you, yes, this guy's terrible. He's gonna just go off on a date with this girl. But he's doing that to cover his own skin. That's what it's all about. Right. It's about I'm making sure that she doesn't spill the beans. I don't want her sending me up the river. And same thing when he goes to confront Mrs. Dietrichson in the end, the great Barbara Stanwyck. We haven't mentioned her name yet. She does a great performance. Like you said, she's cold. She's great. But yeah, he's going to go shoot her because he doesn't want her giving it away. He's also kind of angry, kind of peeved. He's like, hey, I heard about this Zachetti guy, who to me is the most extraneous character in the whole story. I don't understand why he's in there and why he's so pissed off all the time. But that's Zachetti.
No.
I had to call you, Walter. It's very urgent. Are you with somebody?
Yes, I am. Can I call you back, Margie?
No, you can't. I've only got a minute. I can't wait. Listen, he's going tonight on the train. Are you listening? Walter.
Yeah, I'm listening, Margie. Only make it snappy, will you?
But yeah, I hate to just go against you and every one of your points, but that's just the way I see the film. I definitely do see that. Yeah, we agree that this is a great film and that it's told very well. Going back to your thing about just the storytelling, just the script, this has got to be one of the best scripts ever made.
Yeah,
Billy Wilder, he's a great writer. He teamed up with Raymond Chandler, the great noir author, to create this thing. And to me, it uses voiceover like one of the only times it's ever been used well.
Yeah.
What do you think about the voiceover?
It's one of my favorite things about this film, and his voice is very soothing, and it just I think it really fit this story well, and the dialogue, which I am a huge. I don't know about you, man, but I just love good dialogue. I love a good story, and I think a story, for all the heaviness that it has in it with murder and everything, it just flows so well from start to finish. And I can't think of a scene in this film that just really feels out of place. I know it took you a little bit to come around on this film, so I'll ask you, is there a scene that you feel like is out of place or maybe runs too long? Because I can't really think of one off the top of my head.
No, it's well crafted. It's everything in there, because at one point I was thinking the Lola plot line might be kind of like just extra. But then I'm like, no, that adds a lot to, like I was saying, this shows you the depravity of Neff. But also through Lola, we learn more about how this might not be Miss Dietrich's first rodeo here. She might have had something to do with Lola's mom's death.
Right, exactly.
So just that little aspect. So even that one character that seems on the side doesn't seem like she has much to do with anything.
Yeah.
She does have an integral plot to this. But going back to what you're saying, the dialogue is great because we see this sort of back and forth that's always happening. And this is what great scripts do, is we learn about the characters through it, but we also see how they interact with one another and see how the drama plays out. And just the two people that we've been talking about a ton, they're trying to figure each other out. They're trying to figure out what's happening. There's a game going on too, of attraction, but also of eventually betrayal and plotting this murder. But to me, the best scenes are after the murder, and we know, so the dramatic irony, we know everything, but people like Keys, that they don't know. Yeah. And just seeing sort of them trying to piece things together, and seeing like, say, Miss Dietrichson when she's being questioned, and Walter sitting there, he's kind of fidgeting because he's like, "Oh, this is intense." That's what this movie's about, is that dialogue, and that just the fact that we as the audience, we know what's going on and we're learning more, but it just uses suspense very well, and it's not in your traditional way.
Right. And as somebody that has some of the best dialogue, meaning Keys, the boss, I think his best scene is at the very end when he shows up at the office. I think he maybe says 5 words that entire last scene, where he's been talking Neff's head off the entire movie, and it's great. Like I said, I love every time, when he's like, Papa's got it all figured out, and he has all this anecdotes and stuff, but when he shows up at the office at the very end, and just the look on his face. I told Scarlett, my wife, I said, that is acting right there, because he's not saying a word, but you can read everything he's thinking at that point, because it's not just, oh, I'm ashamed that this has happened, or I hate you, Neff. It's, I love you. He had genuine love for this guy, and he even, right up until the last moment, lights his cigarette. And I'm not a smoker. I don't care about that. But even that affected me right there, because you're just like, even after all of that, and he knows everything, he's gonna light his last cigarette basically for him, and boom, curtains, and we're done. I'm like, that's as close to a perfect ending of a film that I think you're gonna get. Considering that this film was actually gonna end in quite a different way, with Neff going to the electric chair or the gas chamber, whichever they were using at the time. But they thought that would be too graphic for audiences at that point, so they're just like, he'll just lay there and bleed out, smoking a cigarette with his balls. But that's so powerful, because his face is just emoting so many emotions at once. It's a master class in acting, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Edward G. Robinson's great. He's, there's a reason why he won the Oscar. He's great. He nearly steals the show. Yep. They put him on the poster, even though he doesn't deserve to be on the poster. He's just some random guy. And it's funny, if you look at it, he's just like a floating head. He's like, what's going on over there? Yeah. But at the same time, it's great acting, because he's got these weird twicks to him, these weird things he talks about. But at the end, he's crushed. This is his friend. This is the guy that he wanted to come and replace him, and he's done this whole thing. And the fact that he missed it, because that's how much he loved Neff and how much he trusted him. He didn't expect him at all. He was just like, there's no way that Walter had anything to do with this. Yeah. But going back to the ending, to me, it's that last 15 minutes or so. Like, once you get to that part of the movie, you can't turn it off. Yeah, you're sucked in. It's whenever he goes to the house, and to me, I got to talk about the 4K just briefly. But
go for it, man.
That last little part when they're
I bet that looked amazing
in that house. It just looks great.
Oh, I bet
the Venetian blinds have never looked more distinct and more just great. And she's just sitting there. She's waiting for him, and it's it's just pure movie making magic. And that, once we've had that scene and we see Walter go to his ultimate low.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like you said, spoilers, guys. Yeah, he shoots her dead. He says, "You should have shot me. You shouldn't have waited, baby. You should." Or I can't remember exactly what he says, but it's basically, you hesitated because, as she said, I fell in love with you at that moment. Do you believe that? Let's stop right there. Do you believe that, or is that another con job on her?
I you know what? I don't believe it, to be honest with you. I mean, I hate to throw her on the fire, but I just really feel like maybe she wants to love somebody. I just don't think she has that ability. I mean, to sit there and have somebody else shoot your husband in front of you and not even bat an eye, I mean, that's cold. I mean, that is serious cold. So, I don't believe a word this woman says. Is she beautiful? Yes. She knows it. We know it. Neff knows it. And she's using it, her charms and, words and everything, to get exactly what she wants. And yet, Neff is not going to let her outright win because he feels bad, guilt. I don't know, But no, I have more compassion for Neff, is what I'm trying to say here. Is I have more compassion, even though he did a lot of bad stuff. I mean, he did commit murder, and he did try to hide it. I mean, that scene where he does all those things to try to set up his alibi, and put those cards in his doorbell. I'm
Another
like,
great scene.
I mean, like, yeah, this, like you said at the very beginning, Neff is not innocent. I'm not trying to say that Neff is a guiltless party here. No way. But I just feel like Neff is doing the best he can to try to atone for all of it by telling his boss, Whereas I don't think that, like I said,
he's gonna die anyway.
Yeah. So he's trying to ease his conscience as he dies there. She was never gonna do that for nothing. So.
Yeah. I think the first time I watched it, I was just like, maybe I believed her. It's like, that's kind of interesting. But then now I'm kind of like, no, I think she kind of missed him. Maybe she didn't actually kill him, and she's like, crap, I better come up with something right now. And then, I mean,
there is a lot of ambiguity still.
Yeah.
When you start to think about it, and even now after I did my whole spill, I'm still thinking about it. So I guess you could go either way with it, to be honest with you. And I think that's what makes this movie so good, is that you can take this film a certain way, or at least the character a certain way, and I can the other. And there's sensible evidence for both, so.
Yeah, but then Neff, he shoots her, kills her, and it's terrible. It like shocks you still, even how many times you watch this film, because you don't expect him to do it in the way he does it, because it's violent. It's more implied than what you actually see too. But then he does something that I guess is something is where you're getting most of your case from. Is he stops Zachetti and says, "Go see Lola. You guys great for each other." And to me, I'm like, why is he doing that? That's just kind of, it doesn't seem like part of his character at this moment. But that's just me. But going to the final ending, like you're saying, it's perfect. Once again, I've seen this film so many times. I like watching him trying to struggle to get to that element. It's really cool. It's a very climactic scene, even though it's not your typical like action oriented like scene.
It's not a hero's march, for sure.
It's not. It's a weird place, and as you, the audience, you're in a weird spot because you see that it's inevitable, but at the same time, you want to see him kind of make it.
I mean, the thing is, and even after watching it, you're like, well, he didn't just like die. I mean, it doesn't really show, because so maybe he lived. Maybe he recuperated. But you're like, nah, he did die. Because the thing is, and maybe you differ on this, but I still am rooting for Neff to the very end. I really am. I mean, I'm not saying he should have done what he did. With another man's wife, and then kill that man, and then kill her. But even still, and this may be more towards the performance by the actor, because he just makes you feel like you could love the guy or like the guy, so easily. He's just got that nice charming smile, and there's nothing to me that says danger. So you're like, yeah. Even after all of that, I still want to kind of root for him. But maybe that's just a flaw in my personality. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think to me, I interpret the film as this is just one of those things that you watch. It's a tragedy. It's a fall from grace.
Yeah.
And some people get into this. They like this like crime stuff. They like seeing it plotted out and see if they're going to get away with it or not. Spoiler: he does not. But it's I don't know. I like the character. I like the portrayal. I like the actor. But at the same time, I think he gets what he gets, and it's one of those things where you kind of the tone of this film. If he did live, and if he went to like you see, 15 years later, Walter became a priest at. I don't want that redemption for this. I don't think this film needs a redemption for him. No.
As soon as he killed Mr. Dietrichson, it's over for him, and he kind of knew that was his death sentence right there. And he, to me, it makes the film work that much better because it has this tone. It has this sense of dread from the first note. The score is just great, by the way. The look of the film is great, by the way. We might come back to that in a second, but to me, for real, it just kind of pulls you in as a viewer, and you're riding this wave, and you're kind of like, I don't know, it's this what you feel from the film is what it's all about. So that's why I'm like, he has to die. That's what I get from this film, is this fall from grace, this tragedy. That's what this movie's about to me.
But for me, at least, him and Keys got one more moment to kind of be like, yeah, I still love you. You did a lot of bad things, but, you're at least trying to make up for it. You're at least admitting to it, and confessing to everything. So there's that. I mean, look, guys, if you're not familiar with film noir, this is your quintessential. I mean, I heard it on a documentary that this wasn't the first film noir, but this one really set the table for what a good noir does. And it has everything. I mean, I can't imagine watching this movie in color and liking it as much as I do in black and white. I mean, this movie is made for the black and white aesthetic. I mean, that's something that I really feel like, more than other films, it just really added a whole nother layer to the greatness that is this film.
Yeah, and that's kind of what my last thought is. This is a film for film lovers. It's for people that can appreciate something like this, something made in 1944, and it's black and white, but it's beautiful black and white. And they use every tone of those two shades. That's why I'm like, get the 4K, guys. It's great. But to me, the aspect ratio plays into that too a lot, because your eyes are just centered in on this one thing. It's not going to wander. It just kind of pulls you into these two people. You're following their story. It's just a well-made film, and I highly recommend everybody should check it out. Like you said, the black and white is very fitting because this is a dark film. And you should know that getting into it, and watch it, and then turn on the sun or go watch a comedy or something. Yeah.
I love you too.
And what do you guys think of it? Have you guys seen this film? What do you think of it? What's your favorite scene? What's your favorite performance? let us know, because hey, we love this film, and we love all films. You guys go on our YouTube channel, and we've got comedies, we've got noirs, we got it all. We got some fantasy, and we got some really great stuff coming up for you guys here in a little bit. So please stay tuned. Man, this has been so much fun. I've really been looking forward to this episode and talking about this great film. And I hope we did it justice. I really do, because I think we probably could have got another 2 hours talking about this film, because it's just that damn good. But we'll cut it off for now. But
yeah, we scratched the surface.
Yeah, that's
anyway.
right. Yeah. So let us know what you guys think on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel, and leave us a comment on your favorite film noir. If it's not this, what's your favorite? And who knows, we'll talk about it at some point. For Steve Z, I'm the Super Foch. We'll see you guys next time on the SuperCaZt.